Hey, Truth Seekers, Zach here. We're currently in the middle of basketball season, and in this video blog, I'm trying to expose the world we live in and how it's ran by essentially the same gang of people who I often refer to as the Gang of 33. I also say they're the Freemasons. And it's possible I have a little bit of tunnel vision with my theory. It might be more than the Freemasons, but these Masonic principles, they're just through and through. They're all over in this world. And just the other night, I started thinking about the death of Chris Paul's grandfather, which was a big story. We will watch that. We'll watch the video footage they showed on television. And I just wanted to see if there was anything curious with Chris Paul. So I began to look, and sure enough, there was. Starting with where he's from. He's from this town, Winston-Salem. And Winston-Salem is right next to Greensboro, North Carolina. Wake Forest, the college, is in Winston-Salem, where Chris Paul went. Just right next door is Greensboro, where University of North Carolina is. So this is major basketball town. But Winston-Salem, it actually puts out a lot of celebrities for being a small town. It's a town of, well, it's grown to 200,000 people now. But it's put out many celebrities over the years, from athletes to news personalities to actors, and it's a town with very curious gematria. Winston sums to 33, Salem 14. Put it together, it sums to 47. 33 plus 14 equals 47. And besides this being Chris Paul's hometown, he has some numbers himself, starting with his birthday. He's born May 6th, 1985. You could write that 5685, giving him a life number of 96, like the word Freemason. When you add it digit for digit, 5 plus 6 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 5, it sums to 34, another significant number, the ninth Fibonacci number, a number of much importance. So he has good life numbers in the eyes of at least some. His rookie season in the NBA, he led the team to 56 wins and 26 losses. And look at his birthday, May 6th. That number 5-6 is of importance too. Names such as Rockefeller sum to 56. The word light is 56. The word president with the S exception. It's also one of those numbers that becomes 11. 5 plus 6 is 11. So 56, it's in the 11 set as well. Chris Paul's currently playing for the Los Angeles Clippers. They are good for the first time in the franchise's history, and it's largely been under the leadership of Chris Paul, who's a megastar in the NBA. Very quickly, we can look at his career achievements. Every year he's been in the league, he's been in the All-Star game. And you can just read through them real quickly. This is quite the list for somebody who's been in the league for not that long. All right. So, where it gets more curious is the death of his grandfather. The night after Chris Paul agreed to go to Wake Forest to play basketball at the college, his grandfather was found murdered. And the story is that a gang of people tied him up, beat him up, and killed him for no apparent reason. The night after Chris Paul agreed to go to Wake Forest. And really, it sounds to me like a ritualistic killing. And the story is that Chris Paul, the next basketball game he played, he scored a point for every year of his father's life. We'll watch that story. But there's something else to it. Here's that gematria for Winston-Salem, this curious town. Probably a very Masonic town. Perhaps a lot of Masonic Freemason bigwigs live in this town. The sport of basketball itself was invented by a Freemason, Naismith. So the father's name, Nathaniel 39, Jones 18 or 27. With the S exception, his name sums to 66, number of significance. Perhaps his grandfather was a Freemason. His high school, West Forsyth, depending on what S exceptions you use, even has a gematria of 61. Notice that 5 plus 2 is 7, 6 plus 1 is 7, 7 plus 0 is 7. That's the check that all these methods are valid. They should always reduce to the same single digit. So, curious. His grandfather dies at age 61 while he's playing for West Forsyth. He scores 61 points, and even within the gematria of the school name, a 61 is present. The name Chris Paul sums to 44, this number having to do with death, assassination, perhaps all part of the tribute, perhaps all part of the reason his father or his grandfather was murdered. And Wake Forest as a university also has some interesting gematria itself, 42, 51, 60. So we'll watch the story now. We can see the young Chris Paul here.
How could a missed free throw in a gym outside Winston-Salem, North Carolina, qualify as one of this year's most memorable shots? Maybe because this free throw tells a story about the respect and affection that two men shared.
I felt my granddad was my biggest fan. I'd go out to the service station to see him, and, he'd just be, he's always bragging on me and my brother about how good we were, and he just made me feel different.
As the star point guard and senior class president at West Forsyth High School, Chris Paul had plenty of people in his corner, but no one meant more to him than his grandfather, 61-year-old service station owner Nathaniel Jones.
He's been running the service station for years, and he would let his customers know if I had a game, I'm closing up early to go see my grandson play.
For Chris and his family, November 14th was one of the happiest days of their lives. The day Chris accepted a full basketball scholarship to nearby Wake Forest.
I had my friends.
I also want to point out that in Pythagorean gematria, W is the 23rd letter, so 2 plus 3 is 5. F is the 6th letter, so F is 6. So WF is also 5, 6. Remember, he's born May 6th. His rookie season, he led the Hornets to a 56-win season. Gematria, numerology, putting numbers on people. How it is just through and through with so many people. And there's just so much of this in the NBA. Please, if you haven't seen my other videos, go back and search for my other NBA videos. It's simple as typing in my name and typing in NBA. A few other posts will come up. I'll also link them in the comments.
From school, some of my teachers, my coach, my teammates. My brother came home for the signing. My mom and dad and my granddad was here to see me sign.
He was so happy. He and Chris had already been out buying Wake Forest gear. So he and Chris had already talked about, after he signs, my dad was going to take his Wake Forest hat off and hand it to Chris. And that's exactly what happened.
Is that Wake Forest hat that Chris is wearing in that shot?
That's my dad's hat. Exactly. I mean, it gives me cold chills when I think back to it now, because when you think about it, that was the last time we was all together. Me, my husband, both of my boys, and my dad. That was the last time we was all together.
The very next day, November 15th, Chris was at a high school football game when a cousin told him shocking news. His grandfather had been found murdered.
We went to my granddad's house, and I didn't want to believe it. And all I wanted to do when I get out the car was see my granddad, and they wouldn't let me. I just, everybody has to die, but I just thought that my granddad was one of those people who never would. Never would.
Still grieving days later, Chris seized on a plan to honor his grandfather in his next game by scoring 1 point for every year of his grandfather's life, all 61 of them.
The first thought was, how can I go out there on that court knowing my granddad's not there? And my aunt mentioned, before I went to the Parkland game, she said, how about 61 points for your granddad? And I just thought to myself, that would be lovely. And I just thought to myself, ain't no way I could do that.
But staying within the flow of the game, without most people, including his parents, knowing what he had planned, Chris scored 24 points in the second quarter alone.
And this is one of the times that I just felt there's no way that, I don't care what kind of defense you play, who you put in front of me, there's no way you're going to stop me from getting that goal. The whole game I was just thinking about my granddad, just thinking, he's in heaven, he's watching this game. He's watching this game. Every time somebody hits me to the floor, he's up there jumping out of his seat, getting angry. And then as the course of the game went on, I said, I can do this.
By the end of the third quarter, West Forsyth had the game wrapped up. Word began to spread through the crowd about Chris's remarkable tribute.
I think I heard some of the children talking about it, but I didn't believe it. I mean, 61 points. Come on. That's just almost unreal. So, I didn't believe it.
Coach asked me how many did he need. I'm like, what? And he looked at me like, don't you know? And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, nothing.
There towards the end, when we got to 56, they turned around. One of the kids turned around and said, Miss Polly only needs 5. And that's when I started getting nervous because I really wanted him to achieve it at that point.
With less than 2 minutes to go in the game, Chris had scored 59 points. Then he drove to the hoop, took a hard foul, and the shot dropped. He had his 61.
And I laid it up, and I got fouled, and it went in. And I laid there for a second and was just overwhelmed because I knew that at this moment in time, this is something I would never forget. It felt like I could have just died and went to heaven right there. It felt like my purpose for being here was almost over.
His total left him just 6 points away from the state record for most points in a game. But as he walked to the foul line, that didn't matter. 61 did.
I walked to the free throw line. The referee gave me the ball and shot an air ball right out of bounds. And my coach took me out. I just looked at my dad and started crying.
It's like everything came out of him. He just walked over to me and gave me a hug, and he just fell in my arms. And that's when it just tore me up, because of what he had just done.
It's one thing, I think, to talk about it, but it's another thing to do it and to achieve it, Yeah, my sister had talked to him about it, but for him to be able to go out there with that in mind, I want to do this for my grandfather, for my best friend, and to be able to achieve it, that's just...
I believe it makes me stronger, but it's so hard because we're still getting through it now. My granddad did so much for our family that it's unreal. It's hard to go on right now. I'm thankful for my granddad, and I'll never forget him, ever.
All right, Truth Seeker. So, that's a pretty touching story, and I don't want to make any assumptions, but it would be something to find out that Chris Paul actually knew the truth about what happened to his grandfather. Because I suspect he wasn't murdered just by some gang of random people. I suspect he was sacrificed like so many others are. And it's sad to think about. Here's a list of celebrities from born in this town. IMDb has it. Chris Paul's number 26 on the list, but I mean, you can see they almost have 100 people here for a town of, not that big of a town. I don't think most towns with 100 to 200,000 people have this many celebrities out of them. Here's Winston-Salem on the map. Winston and Greensboro, they're right next to each other. Major basketball towns. Think about North Carolina and basketball. Stuart Scott, who recently died at a curious age, the age of 49, 7 years after starting his cancer battle. 7 times 7 is 49. He went from Chicago, another very curious place in this study, to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And it seems that a lot of sports journalists do. Another perfect example of this is Stephen A. Smith, also went to school in Winston-Salem. He had a show called Quite Frankly. Frankly's got that 33 gematria, Quite 27. Stephen's a 33 name. So is Smith with the S exception. He's even currently 47 years old. How about that? And let's just watch this Stephen A. Smith segment. Before we watch it, I need to let you know that Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan are both special. Kobe Bryant equals 113. Michael Jordan equals 113. And in the case of Michael Jordan, he unexpectedly retired on January 13th, 113, 1999, a date with 33 numerology. Michael, of course, is a 33 name, so is Kobe. And, these are just a few of many examples. The more I research this, the more prevalent they become. It's astounding. It's across all sports: boxing, baseball, basketball, football, soccer. through and through. Anyway, let's just watch them debate this segment, talking about these two players at the age of 33. I mean, this stuff's just unbelievable.
Stephen A., who's better at 33, Kobe or was MJ?
Well, I'm not going to go by the age. The fact of the matter is that you got to say that Michael Jordan was better simply because you look at the numbers, you look at the fact that he only had 10 years in the league, not only, but 10 years in the league. He was averaging about 29 points a game, shooting about 48% from the field, was en route to his 5th world title. This is what he does. But when you look at Kobe Bryant, I mean, I am one of those guys, Skip, that I believe it's blasphemous for anybody to be compared to Michael Jordan because he's the greatest that I've ever seen. I have always maintained that. I didn't want to hear anything about Kobe, especially since Kobe had lost at least 2 NBA Finals, in 08 to Boston, 04 to the Detroit Pistons. Just got beat down in both series, and that never happened to Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan never even allowed an NBA Finals to go to a Game 7. He always took you out beforehand. But when you look at the fact that this guy has 16 years on his body, nearly 50,000 minutes in the NBA of playing NBA basketball games, what he is doing this season in his 16th year, forget the fact that he's 33, it's 16 years, is that you got to say that.
Oh, shoot, True Seeker. I didn't mean to do that. What I wanted to point out was that the word 16 has a gematria of 33. And look at how he keeps emphasizing this 16. It seems that these news anchors, or these sports news anchors, here we have Stephen A. Smith, here we have Skip Bayless, it seems like they're just like, CNN news anchors in the sense that they're well-trained in upholding the long-established lies, such as how great Michael Jordan is. Yes, Michael Jordan's a great talent. Yes, he's very good at basketball. But as somebody who watched the sport with open eyes, it was also obvious that he got away with everything. Every foul went his way. Every whistle went his way. And it's not hard to see when you're a fan of the other team and you're trying to just watch a fair game. And you notice your players out there can't get anything. But then anytime Michael Jordan does anything, the whistle's going to be in his favor. It's just that way every time. And that's how it was watching Michael Jordan play if you watch with open eyes. So yeah, when you're a great player, plus you have the referees on your side, you have a major advantage. You're pretty much unstoppable, which is what Michael Jordan was, which is why they had him probably retire on unexpected dates. All part of the great manipulation. All right, let's go back to this. Hopefully I'm in the similar spot to where we paused.
His blood spinning, I'm not sure exactly what.
Except this. I got to give Kobe his props.
All right, here we go.
I'm going to give you only this. I have never seen a resurgence from a year 15 to year 16 the way I just saw in Kobe Bryant. And I must bring...
Boom. More emphasis on 16, you guys. And I'm telling you, in this segment about 33, this isn't an accident. 16 is the only number that sums to 33 between all the numbers from 1 to right there. So let's continue.
Up the fact that Kobe went to Germany for an experimental procedure
and controversial. And it's
controversial, but legal by NBA standards. At least it's not illegal yet. I'm not even sure what it was. I don't know if it was blood spinning. I'm not sure exactly what it was. PRP shots, as
like
Jay and I have had.
Yes.
I don't know exactly. But he went to Germany, and he came back rejuvenated. That Kobe that we saw, and you personally witnessed in the playoffs against Dallas last year, that guy is gone. This is a new guy. He went back. I thought he put about 5 years on his life this year. Got a little spring in his hop, a little bit.
Yep.
A little more, just a little more energy. Played with energy more this year. But Stephen A., now I got to get back to the numbers. Kobe Bryant took the most shots this year that he'd taken in 6 years. He took the 3rd most shots in his career this year.
Yes,
I thought he wanted
true.
to win a scoring title, and then I was pleasantly surprised that he backed off before that last regular season game in Sacramento and said, I give up, let Durant have it. But he led the league in shots, as Michael Jordan always led the league in shot attempts. And yet, Michael Jordan, if we go back to the age 33 year, which would be the middle of the second 3 championships in Chicago, Michael made 49% of his shots. Kobe at 33 this year made 43%. So Kobe wasn't nearly as effective or productive with the shots taken as Michael was. So, okay, I'm not sure that Kobe did his team all that much good, leading the league in shots attempted.
But here's the part. Here's the part that you're missing, Skip. Let me educate you, my man. You look at Bynum, you look at Gasol. Yeah, they may get rebounds, but then you're bringing up the court and a half court set, and you're just doing what you do if you're Kobe. A lot of Michael Jordan's points, not most of them, not all of them, but a lot of them came via the fast break. Why? You had the big three, not just rebounding for you, but you had Scottie Pippen creating steals with Jordan. You had them pressuring the basketball. You had them pushing the ball up the floor. So there were a lot of easier shots that Michael Jordan was able to get that Kobe Bryant doesn't necessarily get, because the Lakers don't have that kind of arsenal that Chicago had at its disposal to play alongside Jordan, and that contributes to Jordan having a higher shooting percentage and appearing to be more proficient and efficient than Kobe Bryant. Don't forget that part.
And don't forget, Michael Jordan had Bill Winnington at center. You
No,
like that?
not just Bill Winnington. He
You
had
like
Bill
that?
Winnington, he
I
had
know,
Bill
but Skip, what
Cartwright,
about Stephen
he had
A's
Luke
point?
Longley. They had a whole bunch of 7-footers. Go ahead.
It seems like a fair point, Skip.
I think it's an unfair point because Kobe still has the two best skilled big men in basketball, and
Hold
he
it, wait a minute,
refuses
wait a
to feed
minute.
them on a
That's
nightly
bogus.
basis.
That's
He
bogus.
refuses
That's
to
bogus.
feed the
That's
beast that is
bogus.
Bynum.
That is
He
bogus.
takes shots
You
that he
know
doesn't
it.
need to take.
Oh,
High
Trey,
degree of
they pick and
difficulty,
choose when to show up.
fallaways from the corner. Kobe jack it up when he's got the greenest light in the history of basketball. And where does it
Stop
get the
it.
Lakers?
Stop it.
It gets
Let
them
me tell you
beat
something right now.
against Denver. It got
Well,
them
you can
beat.
say that. We don't know that yet. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, you got a 24-year-old who you have acknowledged and ordained and anointed as the best big man in the game.
Yeah,
who
he's
picks
the real
and chooses
king,
when to show up.
not James.
Who picks and chooses. See, there you go, taking a swipe at LeBron again. But you pick and choose. You pick and choose with LeBron. I'm sorry, with Andrew Bynum, when to take nights off and when to come play. We know he can ball, but he picks and chooses when to play.
Yeah, he came to
Andrew
play.
Pau
Kobe
Gasol-
wouldn't let him play. Kobe took 32 shots the other night to 8 for Andrew Bynum. That's 4 times as many.
I am talking.
Come on.
Listen and learn.
Yeah.
All right, Truth Seeker. I just want to point out before we finish this that, we have a man in his 40s and we have a man in his 50s, and just look at how passionate and worked up they are debating sports. And really, this is just how our culture is created. This is where the average American male's mind is. This is the depth of the conversation. If you go in a room of guys, there's a conversation going on about something like this. It might get this passionate. And if you bring something else to that conversation, like, say, the stuff I talk about, it will weird everybody out in the room. In fact, I would become the weirdo. Because this right here, what we're watching, this is the norm. This is what's normal. This is what's accepted. This is what men are supposed to talk about in America.
Last year during the playoffs, Pau Gasol, some people were speculating that, that he didn't show up because he was emotionally distraught over personal issues. Kobe Bryant has had to deal with a whole bunch of stuff Jordan never had to deal with. These boys came to play, they came to deliver, they came to produce, and Boston and Jordan, being the great one that he is, clearly benefited from that too. But I'm not saying don't ignore that. Don't ignore what Kobe has had to deal with.
Hey, if Michael had had Bynum and Gasol, he would have swept every finals he played. Trust me.
That's not true.
Yes,
that's
he
not
would
true.
have.
Oh, man. So, True Seeker, I just really wanted to document just the evidence of these Freemasonry signatures just all abound, from the actual sports games to the conversations happening about them on TV. If we watch the TNT crew, Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, Ernie Johnson, Charles Barkley, the name O'Neal for Shaq equals 47. Ernie is a 33 name. Kenny is a 33 name. And Barkley is a 74 name. And, these guys are on front of the TV 2-3 nights every week during basketball season, arguing and debating and laughing with each other. They're actually not that bad to watch in terms of what's on TV. Sometimes these guys even make me laugh. But You know, it's just everywhere, you guys. They have really set up what we're seeing before our eyes with these numbers, even the cast of characters they put before us. And for anyone who watches TNT basketball, you know how long Ernie and Kenny been there. Shaquille O'Neal's the most recent addition, and he even brags about being a Freemason. And think about him. He's had a music career, a movie career, a basketball career. And what am I trying to show? How all these things are connected and ran by the same people. Shaquille O'Neal's one of their talents, man. He does all sorts of things for them. He does television, does it all. That's how they reach us. These are all their ways of reaching us. The only thing Shaquille O'Neal hasn't done yet is public office. And watch in his lifetime, if we make it, Shaquille O'Neal, he might be a public official someday. I could see it. And yeah, that's pretty much the message, Truth Seeker. Until next time.